Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 74th episode of Kouryer Podcast. Today, I'm joined with Joyce Chang. She's a landscape designer from Philadelphia, United States. Now, with that quick introduction out of the way, could you please tell us how you give us a little introduction on how you got into visual arts and design?
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess that depends on how I define art, but I started drawing when I was little. Like, it was never anything serious, just like doodling around. And I think I started doing digital art my freshman year of college. I started watching some like YouTube tutorials and I joined a Discord server with a lot of people wanting to become artists. That was like the first time I thought there could be a chance I could become an artist because back home in Taiwan, like my parents would always be like, "Oh yeah, you can keep art as a hobby, but you're not gonna do that as a job." Asian parents like, and everyone around me was basically of the same like train of thought. And I was pretty good at like academics and like math and stuff, so like I was like, okay, so I'll just become like an architect or engineer or something, and I'll keep art as a hobby. But after I joined the Discord server, everyone's so like passionate about doing art as a living or taking art more seriously, that kind of made me think maybe like it was be a possibility for me to like improve on art in like a more rigorous way or just take it more seriously. So I guess that would be in like 2019. I started like doing art more, and I started my Instagram, I started posting, and then everything just kind of went from that. Yeah.
It's amazing how a lot of people in the art community, and myself included, and a lot of us have such a similar experience, like coming up in this, art world. I kind of had actually the same experience as you. And it got ingrained to me by society, by teachers, by parents, and everything that I was like, I went to mechanical engineering, and I was like, it because since I was a kid, I loved making robots and spaceships and stuff like that. But I didn't know, and there were no good counselors to tell me you love the creative process. You don't actually like the funky math stuff. And yeah, I mean that took me through that path, and I was like, I don't like this. This is like too boring and dry, and no, not creative. And actually, I
Yeah.
got the highest score on industrial sketching or design subject during that only semester I attended. So, which that was a big, green light for me that hey, maybe you like only the creative parts and drawing parts, and not the other parts. And I was like, makes sense. So I decided to change majors, and I went to computer science with the intention of maybe all right, it has less of those hard math and physics and stuff, but it's
Hmm.
closer to, for example, video game industry, and
Yeah.
becoming a front end development developer or something. It still has some lingering hopes of being a creative in that field. But I
Hmm.
chose all of that paths because I thought I should have like art as a hobby or something. I can't have it as a major thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's super similar to what you described. And yeah, but it's fascinating, and I'm really happy that with the with like advance of progress of technology and a lot of tutorials in internet, this is becoming less and less of a worry, for people to for those who want
Yeah.
to fully commit their passion, to fully commit to their art passions and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. When I was little, sorry,
sorry, go on.
when I was little, I definitely didn't know that like concept art was a job, or like there's like artists behind like Pixar movies. I thought it was just like a bunch of animators and then the writer. Like I didn't understand that there were a lot of art jobs out there. But I feel like kids these days, especially like a lot of young artists on Instagram and on other things, like they start drawing digitally like when they're like 12. Like they start so early. And I feel like that's like such a cool thing that like social media or technology has brought us. Like I'm so excited to see like these young people that are already so good at art, like at like 15, to see where they go in the future. It's crazy.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not doubtful at all that the next generation of artists are going to be super great artists are going to start
Yeah.
blooming at super young age. It's with everything, not just art.
Hmm.
Like the record of I think being the youngest international master and grandmaster in chess like has been broken, I think, recently. It's all
Mm-hmm.
because of the advent of technology and progress we're making in everything. Yeah, like the speed
Yeah.
is just we're just skyrocketing in everything. And there are like kids who might even start at 6 or 7. For example, imagine their parents give them an iPad and they open up Procreate and are like, what's this? And imagine they discovered
Yeah.
that early. Like, I mean, oh my god, that's
Yeah.
just crazy. And all right. And were you originally studying art and design, or were you pursuing another career path? I know you already mentioned, and we also talked about this exact topic briefly, but I was wondering, like, in your head, like, was that always the case, or how it
You
was?
mean to pursue art and design, or?
Yes, yes.
Well, I originally thought I was just gonna keep it as a hobby because, like, I I guess I was kind of the art kid in class growing up, but that was all it was gonna be, like, for me. And there was one time though that was like the first time I thought my art had value. I was in elementary school, and I used to sketch like mermaids. I would draw mermaids and I would like hide them because I had like a tomboy image and I couldn't let people know I was drawing mermaids. But I would draw these mermaids, and then the girl sitting beside me saw it. I was like, shit, but like, oh, sorry, can I swear? Is it
Oh no, it's
okay to
fine.
swear?
It's
Okay.
absolutely fine. I mean, it's not
Okay, cool.
right.
But like she like the other day, not the other day, the next day she asked me to give her like a drawing of a mermaid. Like she was like, I really like these drawings, can I have them? And I started just like doing drawings for people. So that's like the earliest that I think I thought, okay, like I'm pretty good at art, or like I'm pretty okay at art, that people want my art. Like that's in elementary school. But that was still like, okay, I'm gonna keep it as a hobby. But then I remember, I think sophomore year of college, I started doing basically the same thing with the mermaids, well, commissions, where I actually like get like some money from it, and I can like draw something that people enjoy. And that was still before I thought I was going to do it as a job. I thought I just can earn something on the side. But I remember how like happy I felt when the client is like really touched by my work, or really enjoy my work, and like their feedback and like them enjoying what I created is such like a unique feeling that I don't really get within my field yet, I guess, or within anything else I do. So that is definitely like something that I correlate a lot with doing art, is to like bring people like some kind of positive feeling. That's like, I feel like I went off topic, but
No, no, no. It's fine.
but
You
yeah,
didn't.
that's definitely like something important to me in art, and something that like kept me on this path like of like creative arts and design, I guess.
Awesome. And right now, of course, in the introduction, I mentioned that you're a landscape designer. But the
Yeah,
question I'm going to ask is, what is your main branch of design that you're focusing on right now? And tell us about your experience from the start of it until now.
in landscape architecture.
Yes, the main thing you're
Okay.
focusing on right now.
Okay. So I'm currently working as a landscape designer in a firm, and I graduated in May. So, and I got the job like around May as well. And that's definitely what I've been mainly focusing on for the past 4 years, like while I was in college, because that's my major. Like I went to school, like I have a Bachelor of Science in landscape architecture. And so that's what I've been focusing on, because I've always wanted to do something creative, and I always like I think about the environment a lot, like I'm like since a very young age, and it just seemed like the natural path to take if I want to do both, and I can also kind of use my like math skills, you know. So that's definitely what I've been doing with landscape architecture. And now that I'm working in the industry, I definitely also enjoy it a lot, just because like something I guess you don't really get in art, at least at my level, is you can't really make a thing that will become real. And something with landscape architecture is not only you can build it and you can walk in it and experience it. Landscape architecture, in particular, how it differs from architecture is that it also grows. Like it's not a static landscape. It's not like a building. Not to say like buildings aren't cool, but like with landscape architecture, the the environment, it changes over time. Different plants grow. You can plant in different plants, and you can like think about sustainability. You can think about like how it's going to affect the people around it. You can bring nature to like a very urban area, which is something I've always been like really fascinated about, because especially in like highly dense like urban areas, people don't really get access to nature. And I think that especially affects mental health a lot, especially with like technology and everything. People don't really go out. They're not going to drive like 2 hours to go to like some preserve to like experience nature because they have a job and everything. So I feel like with landscape architecture, it definitely becomes something important to me to bring like the experience of nature into the urban environment. So that's what I'm working with right now. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing that the main area you're really interested in is urban architecture, right? Um,
Uh
I think what I'm trying to say is has another name, eco-urban architecture, something like that, which is like an
it's
involvement of. Come on, sorry.
Yeah, it's landscape architecture in the urban realm. Like it's not I'm not like trying to change the natural environment in that sense. I'm more focused on doing landscape architecture in urban areas. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a project?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that's different for what I do in like with my art on Instagram, that kind of stuff, and my landscape architecture work. So with landscape architecture, I usually, although I do most of my like planning like on CAD and other computer programs, I start concepting on like little pieces of paper I see on my table, like just post-it notes, and I have a little notebook. I use like a really worn down pencil where the tip is very blunt, so it's not very sharp. And I start concepting with like big shapes. And this is where art and landscape architecture really overlap, where it's really about shape design and how like spaces and shapes interact with each other and create like a hierarchy of spaces or shapes in terms of art. So I start both of my processes in art and landscape architecture in the concepting stage with like pencil and paper usually, and then with landscape architecture I move on to designing more micro, like more details in either AutoCAD or Photoshop. AutoCAD I can get really detailed with like dimensioning, and Photoshop I can kind of get more graphic or more illustrative, so I can feel like the experience of in the landscape. And with art, I guess I just move it into Photoshop or Procreate and I go from there. Yeah.
All right, and the next segment of the podcast, I want to ask you about some of your works I've seen on, on your Instagram profile. Well, I mean, I see you been really active in the field of character development and design,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I don't see much of landscape stuff. Like, and
Yeah.
and I see, like, I actually want to ask you this, like, because the colorings of your characters, they look really fresh, on a lot of them. And I actually want to
Thank
ask
you.
you, what is your process of character design? Like, how does your process of character design go, and how do you pick colors and references, like the whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, the reason why there isn't a lot of like landscape or environment stuff is mainly because that's what I do like in school or professionally. So like when I do art, it's kind of a escape from that or like a change of pace. So I want to do something that's very different. So I use like very vibrant colors and that I can't really use in landscape architecture, and I use when I do character mostly. But yeah, when I choose colors, like I can't say I've ever studied color theory in depth. Like I've talked to like professional artists about it, and I listened to some videos, but I haven't really gone in depth with it. So I'm still pretty like I generally just use my intuition. I know that's not very helpful, but I also do some oils, and with oils you kind of do like the underpainting and then you paint above it, and that's kind of what I do specifically with human characters. I do like an under reddish tone of underpainting, and then I overlay like other colors like purple. I think Ahmed Al-Duri like also had that on his. He basically like told me how to do this to like overlay color in a way that like it still shines through. And I found that really intuitive because it feels like traditional. So I guess in most of my character processes, I try to mimic the feeling I get in traditional. So I don't use a lot of layers. I use like 3 layers usually, and I merge them like every like 30 minutes or so, just because it's more intuitive for me to work on like the same layer. With colors, usually I don't go too crazy with it. Usually I feel like I choose a color palette just from like a like hues that are close together. Like I don't go really crazy with it, and that's something I want to work on. But that like requires a more in depth understanding of color theory. With references, honestly, I'm pretty free with it. I just choose pictures from Pinterest that I like that makes me feel something, or a lot of times I take pictures for more like specific reference, like specific angles. I take pictures of my friends or pictures of myself, like in order to get the exact like expression or pose that I want. And that's what I do for bigger pieces that I don't think I posted on my Instagram, but it's also what I do for like I think one of the posts that I have where the girl had like hands on her face, that definitely is like a selfie that I took because I couldn't find the exact post I want in Pinterest. So that's definitely is helpful, and that's what I say a lot to people who ask me questions about um, how to draw in like portraits or like how to find reference. And I'll just like say take a picture of yourself because you can either spend 5 hours like looking through Pinterest looking for the specific reference that you want, or you can just buy a selfie stick and take a picture of yourself and then be done with it. It takes you what 3 seconds? It's so easy.
Yeah, exactly. Even for animation stuff,
Yeah,
like even Ethan Becker, I think, said a lot on his videos that for a lot of reference animations for his works is him just goofing around in his home, like having
yeah,
a camera around. And another idea, like I think someone in his comment section, and I don't think it's a new idea necessarily, but to me it was new.
hmm,
That someone
yeah.
said maybe close a selfie stick and make the phone the angle like this and put it in your sock in your shoe and start running, or maybe have a friend drag you and give really unique perspectives for reference animations. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah, I definitely do that for animation as well.
all right. And do you still plan on doing more animations?
Uh, maybe. One thing about animations is it's very time intensive, at least for me, and I think for most people. Like I do frame by frame. Like I don't understand Adobe Animate where you can kind of tween automatically. I've never used it. I just use Procreate's animation feature, so I just do that, and it takes me around like that video. I think it took me like 4 hours, like 5 hours. I don't know. Usually my character designs they don't take me over like two hours. I don't know, but because usually I don't have that much time. And for that animation, I definitely pulled an all nighter because I was straight after work, and I don't see myself having that much free time usually. So I either have to do it on weekends or I have to pull more all nighters. Uh, yeah, so like hopefully like I have a project that I've been working on bit by bit like for like about a month now where I want to do like an animatic of this world I've been building on. But that's probably going to take a while with like work and everything. But definitely I'm thinking about doing more animations.
Would you care to tell us a little bit about the board you're making, or do you want to later announce it, as like a polished thing?
I like it's not like I want to be like dramatic and like I'll release it when it's like done, but like I just don't want to jinx it, you know? It's one
Oh
of those
yeah,
things.
totally get
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And well, next question is, who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Oh, okay. Most of my friends know like I am and I was particularly a while back obsessed with this artist called Dave Cooper. I think he used to be a cartoonist, or maybe he still is now, but I started looking at his oil paintings first, and his shapes and his like values and colors is just like amazing to me. Every time I see anything he posts, it's like gorgeous. He did this series of like pomegranate studies, like oil studies of pomegranate, and it's just pomegranates, but like it's so gorgeous. And I have it as my like home screen. I have it as like everything for a while. Yeah, Dave Cooper, like he's on Instagram as well, and I have one of his art books,
The
and
guy with the
he's
huge
great.
beard?
Yeah, you follow him?
Oh, I know, but I just googled him and just
Oh,
found him
okay,
out. Yeah, his stuff looks amazing.
yeah. It's definitely some of my friends. don't really get it because it's not very like concept arty, which is like what most of
Yeah.
my friends are into. But his stuff is like very surreal, and the colors are very like evocative, and I really enjoy his like color palette and everything he does. And he was also really helpful when I first started on oils. I reached out to him asking like what like colors or what brand he uses, because that's every artist does that, like what brushes do you use basically. But he was very helpful with that, and yeah, he definitely is still one of my favorite artists. Another artist I really like, especially recently, is Zedig. You probably already know him, like
Hmm.
Zedig. I don't know how to pronounce his real name, but he's a Z-dig on most things. He does a lot of character designs, a lot of environments for
Hmm.
animations. He did stuff for Owl House, I think, the like an animated series. His shape design is gorgeous. Like his line quality, amazing. His animations are great. Like I love everything he does as well.
Yeah, and what technologies and softwares mostly do you use for your works? I mean, and it's kind of funny because I asked this question after you mentioned that a lot of artists always ask, "What brushes do you use? You know, what stuff do you use?" And basically, this question is that.
What brushes do I use?
No, none. I mean, the softwares and the hardware you use.
Oh, okay. So I have an Intuos tablet. It's not a screen tablet. It's just a wait. Is it on screen? Yeah,
Ah,
this
I have one
tablet.
of those, but it's
Yeah,
different. It's
and
like those that have like a blue color thingy. It's an Intuos Medium, Wacom Intuos
okay.
Medium.
Yeah, and recently I've been working more on my iPad as well. My iPad definitely feels better to draw on, although I like Photoshop more than Procreate in some ways. But to be able to see like the screen and then to draw on it, like I know that's the thing with screen tablets, it just feels more intuitive. And also I have a feeling that like because I do most of my work on my computer, like when I do art I kind of want it to be separate. So having like a separate workstation and like a place where I do art exclusively, I feel like also helps. And yeah, so I just use Photoshop and Procreate. That's like the two things I use.
All right, awesome. And what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, if there's an NDA involved, we can skip right past this question. But if that's not the case, what are you doing right now?
uh for work stuff I can kind of vaguely talk about it, I guess. It's a right now I'm working on a small project for a a, a place in New Jersey, and it's like a memorial project. It's very technical. We're working with sun angles, and we're working. It's a very technical thing, and I have to do like 3D models for it. I have to map out like the trajectory of the sun and like the sun angles through the 3D object. So that's been fun to work on just as like a brain teaser, just figuring stuff out. And with art, yeah, I already mentioned it, that one project that I've been working on. Right now, I'm in like concepting stage, I guess. I have sketches of the environment and I've been trying to model it in Blender. Yeah.
And has there been like a recent video game that you played that it really like leave the mark, like left a mark on you, like in terms of art inspirations, and stuff like that?
Uh, well, this one's definitely not recent, but I I've been playing it like continuously even after I beat it over and over. It's Breath of the Wild. There's also something like everyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with Breath of the Wild. Like I'm not like I started gaming like later on in life, so I don't have a lot of early life game experiences. And Breath of the Wild definitely was one of the only games that really I could play alone for hours, because most of the games I play are with friends and that's why I play it. But with Breath of the Wild, I have like three different saves. Like I played it over and over again. It's just gorgeous. I would sometimes when I find a spot that's just really pretty, I would just stand there as Link and I would just like look around and I take screenshots because everything is just amazing. Like that's also like after I played Breath of the Wild, I was like, I want to work in the game industry because it just feels so like transcendent to be able to bring that experience to the player and to create something so beautiful. also you're able to interact with, which is different from like just like a painting. That's definitely something I'm into. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I've never played Breath of the Wild or any Zelda
What?
games, but the closest thing I played was, I think, 10 months ago. There was a new game that's announced, Genshin Impact, which was basically
Oh
the
my god.
the copy version of the Breath of the Wild, but with
Yeah,
anime
that's what I heard.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I checked the footage of the Breath of the Wild, and yeah, that was exactly it. Like, it was shamelessly copied, and they
Yeah.
added cute anime girls and characters, and that's what people like. And apparently, it's true for some reason. And yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely recommend you play Breath of the Wild. Like, a few of my friends couldn't get into it, but most people I know are like really love the game. Like, no matter what kind of like gamer you are, I guess, like you could probably find something in Breath of the Wild that you can really enjoy. Especially for an artist, I feel like Breath of the Wild is just amazing. Especially with the second game coming out in 2022. Yeah, so you should probably play the first one, and then the second one will come out next year, and you
yeah. I
could
mean,
try
I
that one.
love to try and play a lot of Nintendo games, like even the older ones. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo is amazing with the amount of innovation they did in the whole, like, gaming scene. Like with the first, I think,
Hmm.
3D Mario on Nintendo 64. That was like one of the pioneers of 3D platformers. I love to play that one, and of course the classic Mario's. I've never played those stuff because I never had a Nintendo, or even right now I have a Switch or anything. And and unfortunately there aren't even emulators on for PC. I think there are, but it I have to
Yeah.
do a lot of stuff, to get it working. But yeah, I'll definitely try them, when I get the chance. Amazing stuff, I know. Like when I
Yeah.
was a kid, I was a Sega
Yeah, I
Genesis
think
kid.
I bought. Sorry.
Sorry, going on.
Ah.
Oh,
No,
sorry,
no, no.
sorry, going
Continue.
on. Oh, sorry. So I was saying, like, I
Oh.
was. Oh my god, sorry. I apologize. Should I go on? I'm sorry for the audio listeners
No.
who are
Yeah.
listening to this. This is the most awkward moment I've ever experienced on the podcast. All right, so I'm gonna say, I was a Sega Genesis kid. All right, so Sega Genesis, Sega's character in response to Mario was Sonic. So I played a Sonic. I don't know if you know Sonic, the character, the blue hedgehog.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yeah. So I used to play that a lot, but I never got to play Nintendo properly. The Mario and Zelda games. But I'll definitely try them a lot. And well, the next question is kind of, we want to know Joyce Chang a bit more. It's about, what area beside the area you're working right now would you be interested to explore and learn in the future, or even do? Maybe it's like maybe, for example, someone once said they want to make a sanctuary one day for animals, or maybe it's a skill you want to learn. We want to
Hmm.
get to know your personality little bit more.
Okay. Well, something when I first went into landscape architecture, I thought I was going to be doing, or at least the end goal would be like green architecture, because I live in Taiwan and we don't have a lot of space, and we don't necessarily have the opportunity to have park spaces the way that America does because of all the free space that they have. So one way to make everything more sustainable would be to do green architecture. I'm currently working more on like park spaces and that kind of stuff, but eventually I do want to see if I can do anything with green architecture. So that could I probably have to go for like other degrees like architecture or environmental design or engineering, but I would be like happy to do that. And with art, one thing that I'm trying to get better at is definitely Blender, because I've seen like the amazing things you can do with Blender, and Blender just feels like intuitive, like creation. It just feels amazing. Like I still like drawing 2D, but in Blender you can make things and you can turn them around and you can like make animations, you can view them from different angles. It just feels like creation in like a more pure way, I guess. I really enjoy it and I want to get better at that. And yeah. And with my art stuff, another thing I want to get better at definitely is like doing keyframes or like some kind of storyboarding, like getting better at composition and pacing, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And well, with everything that's been said and done, to conclude all we discussed, please give us a roadmap for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to get to the place you are in terms of skill set, like where to start, best books, softwares, courses, anything that could come to your mind. So, for someone who is here and wants to get to, where you are right now, so what would those steps look like for someone to get there?
Hmm. Uh, I think I definitely have a more relaxed approach to learning art, and I think that is important for someone starting out to not stress themselves out too much. And I feel like artists give themselves a lot of baggage that isn't necessary to your creative process. And I think just by giving yourself more space and time, that's step one. And another, like to actual art learning, I think watching tutorials from different artists, because some people zero in on one artist and they just consume everything they create and just like mimic everything they do. That will give your art growth, but it'll be limited and it'll be in the direction of directly that one artist. Your art is from all the different artists, like content you like you enjoy and then you consume. So if you only look at one artist, your art is going to be pretty limited and you're not going to have a lot of like expression of yourself in that because you're just mimicking. So I definitely encourage people to look at different artists and then look at tutorials from different artists. And also one thing that's more like that's really easy to do is just to join someone's Discord, like join art Discords. That I recommend Discords with some kind of paywall just because it keeps the trolls out. But joining different artists discords, and sometimes the artists will give you direct feedback, or you can see other people trying really hard to do what you do, and it could be definitely uplifting. And on more concrete ways to improve, definitely look at your fundamentals. This is something that I miss when I was uh, trying to get better at art. Fundamentals like color theory, composition, shape design, perspective. These are things that you definitely need to like drill it in your head in order to create freely as an artist. Because otherwise, you're going to be relying on reference or you're going to be relying on mimicry, and that's not consistent. And that also gives you a really small box to work with. So definitely expand your skill set, try everything, especially if you're starting off as an artist. Don't be scared to just step out of your comfort zone. Touch 3D if you've never done it before. Do some animation if you've never done it before. Try everything and then solidify your fundamentals, and then you can go from there. Yeah.
All right, thanks so much for joining us. And where can people contact you if they have a question? Is your Instagram account okay?
Yeah, just DM me on Instagram, and I'm usually pretty active on that, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for coming by. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in to listen or watch this episode. And take care, everyone, and see you next episode. Bye.